I made this.
And I made this.
I just wanted to bring us together. You just wanted to take us further. I think that's how it is. PCA.
We are PCA. I am Sara. I'm the marketing chair of PCA, and I have two fantastic guests with me today. I have our logo designers, original and new. So I'll let them introduce themselves. Go ahead, Valina.
I'm Valina, founder of Cheer Salt Lake and a founder of PCA. I designed the original logo, which you see right here. I designed this logo probably way back in 2012, just as a, hey, let's get a logo thing going. And I was in Salt Lake, kind of figured, just designed it while I was there, and I flew to San Francisco, or ran it by Win of all persons, and we kind of said, yes, this is probably a good logo for us at the time. And we had a logo competition that was open to all the teams at the time, saying anybody could submit anything, and it was a popular vote, and this one won, and that became the first PCA logo.
Yeah, I actually remember the night on the mat when these logo options came across us and we were voting on this big deal thing that I didn't have much context for because I was only a couple of years in PCA, but I potentially contributed to your victory.
You did. You voted for my logo.
I don't even remember.
Somebody did, because obviously it won.
It's fantastic. So I'll turn it over to Chris, and you can tell us about yourself and where in your life you were when you designed the new PCA logo.
Hi, I'm Chris Williams. I'm a former member of Cheer San Francisco. I am a member of the PCA rebrand team and the graphic designer for the new logo and brand identity. We did this last year in 2021 and launched it into 2022.
Excellent. So what I thought we would just look at today and pick through are the elements of the original logo, where they came from, and how they were carried over to the new logo, and what inspired Chris to innovate and what inspired him to continue. So Valina, I'm just going to ask you about that logo on your chest right there. Can you tell me a couple of the elements that stand out to you and what they refer to?
The obvious element that I have is changing the letter I in pride into kind of a person, a cheerleader type of person, gender neutral, whatever, with a megaphone and, stripes sticking out, similar to a rainbow because we are pride, and the 3 stars because we are superstars. So this was kind of like what, I was really focusing on was the
This
what is the boobs now? But this element here is what I was really kind of focusing on as a center element of explaining how all of us cheerleaders are. We got a cheerleader, we're stars, and we are very gay. And I thought this kind of represented that. And I'm so glad that this sort of element got kind of moved over into the new logo that Chris designed.
Yeah, so I love the human-centered feel that you just keep talking about, and the rainbow representing the community that we are representing, and the stars just elevating us to a celestial degree.
That's right.
So if we could talk about those same elements, Chris, you can pick through how they carried over and what inspired you.
Yeah, so obviously the human factor in PCA is a critical piece of our success. So it was important that that remained. So we moved it from the I to the A, and it represents the association of the teams and the human factor. We looked at the other iconography that's associated with cheerleading, and a number of them came up: stars, megaphones, flags, and specifically with the PCA, the rainbow. So we did pivot and we tossed the megaphone and picked up a flag instead. This allowed us to have a lot of flexibility with representing different communities and different flags, and we are a very diverse community at PCA, so that was fitting for us, but allowed us to still have a lot of structure and repetition with the shape of the flag. It also alludes to parades themselves and flag leaders being up in front, as the cheerleaders normally are. And then we added some style to the A or the star itself with some stripes to add some movement and action, because after all, this is a cheerleading organization.
I'm glad you mentioned those stripes. I was going to pick up on some elements from Valina's original logo that I don't know if they were intended to be there, but people have seen them in this logo and asked me to ask you about them, Valina. So the movement that's reflected in your logo is the arms and legs of that human, and it almost looks like an AIDS ribbon. Was that intentional?
That was actually not intentional at all. And I'm kind of glad that that kind of came through it, because, a lot of PCA formed with helping people living with HIV and AIDS. And, it was not intentional, but I'm glad that it was part of it.
I wonder if the voters saw that and felt a connection to it.
Perhaps,
Yeah.
perhaps that is what happened.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So now back to the movement that's in the new logo, Chris. Tell us about those stripes and the movement and other things in our communities that those stripes remind us of.
Oh, that's an interesting question there. Quite honestly, graphically, to tie together PCA and the star, we needed something that was going to allude to the A and also stand alone when PC was not present, and we just wanted an icon. So we needed something that was going to bridge that gap. The stripes, can reference a variety of things other than just movement. And we see it actually used in a number of other flags. It's a consistent repetition in the community flags and becomes graphically pleasing to see when they're paired together. And something that has not fully been discussed is that we have a lot of allies within PCA, and the ally flag does have this black and white streamed theme. So it's appropriate.
All right, now I'm going to throw in there something that's may not have been intentional, but has been seen by other people in your new logo, that kind of looks like the crosswalk stripes that a lot of communities have taken over and painted rainbow.
Yes. So along the parade routes, we're going down the streets. There are lots of crosswalks. We can see, oftentimes viewers will see what they want in a graphic or an art piece, similar to Valina's people reading into it and seeing an age ribbon. You can see a crosswalk here. There's a larger graphic toolkit that could be used that includes the stripes and can simply create some dynamics that are visually exciting, but repetitive and fit well in family with the logo.
So we're allowed to see what we want to see, is what you're saying.
It's all the eye of the beholder.
But I wanted to ask Valina to talk about the color story, or lack thereof, behind the original PCA logo.
The intentional lack thereof of a color story. The intent of the original logo was that it was designed in black and white, black on white or white on black, so that each of the teams could use their own color and make the logo their color so that it matches with their team as well. And it has also then been transformed into, well, we're going to use a color to represent a community, or changing little bits and pieces to represent a bit. For example, you might change the color of the stars for, whatever community you happen to be cheering for at that time. So it was intentionally left uncolored so that, the teams could have a coloring book to kind of play around with, I suppose, that depending on the situation.
Coloring book.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. There's an element of the new logo that's similarly choose your own adventure, and that's the flag.
I really like that. Yeah.
So Chris, why don't you tell us about the adventures that go along with the flag?
Yeah, so right now I'm wearing the gay pride flag version of the logo, but there are many other communities. It's not just the gay pride flag. We have a version of for trans, for bi, asexual, autism. There's a whole parade of communities that PCA can represent, and we have coordinating flags for almost all of them.
So when we were trying to decide whether to continue the black, white, transparent, choose your own adventure logo, or give PCA a color to stand proudly behind and stand boldly with, we decided, let's go for the color. So the color we picked was really meaningful. There's a lot behind this color. So I'm going to let Chris tell us 2 or 3 things behind the color purple that we chose for the PCA brand.
Yes, and this is not a push for the book. The color purple.
I'm going to say that again.
Separate
So
from
I'm going to let Chris tell us 2 or 3 things about the color that PCA chose for its primary brand color.
Yeah. So when we were looking at what would be appropriate for this brand, we knew that we needed to capture something that represented the organization. And in the original gay pride flag, the color purple represents spirit, which is very fitting for cheerleaders. The color purple is also the mix between red and blue, which are 2 opposite ends of the spectrum, as well as representing different viewpoints and ideologies, and seemed like a nice balance and could represent a wide range of individuals.
We love it. The purple is the center of the non-binary blur between 2 endpoints of color, 2 endpoints of light.
Yeah.
When you were originally sketching this design,
Uh-huh.
did you have any idea it would ultimately be the PCA logo?
I was just playing around with this as, hey, this is something that we might want to have to kind of unify this loose group of teams that we have.
I
That
think
was,
you had a very different experience from Chris
uh-huh.
when he was carrying out a mission of a team to redesign a logo. I think you probably felt a little bit different than Valina did when she was just sketching.
Yeah, I did. I came in and there was already an established brand and an established organization. It was 5 years later. So I was not starting from scratch. And it's thanks to Valina that we had a lot of great ideas already on the table. We looked at 5 different concepts of how this could be reinvigorated for a new life. And it was a partnership with a larger rebrand team. I may have brought a lot of the graphic design skills and knowledge, but really there was 6 to 10 people meeting monthly for a year, talking about where we wanted to bring this organization. And one of the deliverables was a logo and graphic toolkit, but there was a lot of other things that came out of the rebrand.
All right.
I just wanted to bring us together. You just wanted to take us further. I think that's how it is.
Yeah, gotta start with something to rally behind.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that this is just a quick little story for the world to know that this was not a takeover, it was a carryover. And yeah.
And it was one that when I heard that the new logo was going to be redesigned, I was the first person to be on board and to email Sara back and say, yes, I fully accept this.
Thank you.
I think one of the things when you create something is being able to give it up. You have to bring it to the public. It's no longer yours. And, this is an organization that's large. There's a lot of people. So handing over something that you personally created to an organization and other people is really important. I appreciate, what you did in the original logo, and that you blessed us to, take another look at it and to relaunch it. It's thank you.
Yeah, it's great.
Now go buy merch. Everybody go buy merch.
Buy your merch. Buy your merch.
And I made this.
I made this.
And I made this.
Yeah.
Woo!